Beloved, there comes a sacred moment when the external chaos begins to quiet, not because circumstances have changed, but because your soul is awakening to its true purpose. This moment has arrived for you now. It doesn't herald itself with fanfare or dramatic declarations. Instead, it settles upon your spirit like morning dew, gentle yet transformative, quiet yet profound. This is how divine movement often begins, in the sacred space between silence and sound, between waiting and action. You have journeyed through extended seasons where you mistook quietude for abandonment, where you confused divine timing with divine absence, yet I have remained constant, watching over you as you carried burdens that remained unspoken, witnessing your daily acts of courage as you showed up with strength while secretly questioning whether the dreams within you had any room left to flourish and expand. What you have labeled as waiting has actually been preparation. While you felt stationary, I was transforming the very ground beneath your feet, preparing fertile soil for what is about to emerge. The seasons of seeming stillness were not periods of divine inactivity, but rather intensive seasons of spiritual preparation, where I was cultivating the depth of character necessary to sustain what I am about to release through you. Your potential within me knows no boundaries, no limitations, no restrictions. You have allowed your circumstances to define your capacity, but I measure by entirely different standards. Where you perceive delay, I see the formation of depth and character. Where you observe limitation, I witness precision and divine timing. My calling upon your life has never been contingent upon your feelings of readiness. It has always been based upon my perfect design for your existence. You were never created to diminish yourself or to play small with the gifts I have placed within you. I remember the precise moment when you ceased reaching for more, not because the vision departed from you, but because disappointment convinced you to carefully fold it away and store it in the hidden chambers of your heart. You began to fear being misunderstood more than you feared remaining unfulfilled, and this fear became a prison of your own making. The volume of your dreams was intentionally lowered so they wouldn't attract unwanted attention or criticism. You wrapped your divine calling in layers of human logic and reasoning, hoping this would protect it. I have been guarding your calling like glowing embers beneath protective ashes, keeping the fire alive and ready for the moment of divine ignition. That fire continues to burn within you. You feel its warmth every time you witness someone else stepping courageously into their bold calling. Your chest constricts, not from jealousy or envy, but from recognition of what lies dormant within your own spirit. You experience this stirring when you find yourself alone and the world slows just enough for your spirit to remember its original design and purpose. This stirring is not confusion or uncertainty. It is the awakening of divine memory. It is the recollection of what I whispered to your spirit before you were shaped and molded by the urgent demands of survival. You were not created to blend seamlessly into the background or to simply maintain the status quo. You were not designed merely to function adequately within existing systems. I did not breathe life into your being so you could spend your days managing the expectations of others. I formed you with meticulous attention to detail, wove you together with divine intention, and sent you into this specific moment in history, carrying more authority and purpose than you have dared to believe or acknowledge. The world does not need another version of you that has been compressed to fit into acceptable molds. The world desperately needs the authentic you. the one who doesn't second-guess every spiritual gift, the one who isn't afraid to carry substantial weight, the one who understands that quiet obedience often precedes visible and transformative impact. Consider what transpired when I called those who came before you. I did not wait for them to complete their preparation or to feel fully qualified. I encountered them in the midst of their confusion, their fear, their reluctance and uncertainty. One was still threshing grain while hiding from enemies. Another remained covered in the dust and grime of sheep fields. One heard my call through supernatural fire, another through the gentle whisper of wind. None of them felt prepared or ready for what I was calling them to accomplish. My eyes were not searching for perfection or complete readiness. I was looking for hearts willing to surrender, spirits ready to trust, souls prepared to step forward in faith despite their feelings of inadequacy. You continue waiting for complete clarity and certainty, but what you truly need is courage that comes not from having all the answers, but from knowing you are not walking alone. You are not stepping into this next season in isolation. You are advancing with me as your constant companion and guide. I am not sending you forward with empty hands or an empty heart. I am filling you progressively as you move forward in obedience. You do not need to carry the entire weight of the vision simultaneously. You simply need to stop retreating from it and start embracing it step by step. There will indeed be days when the calling feels heavy and burdensome. This is not evidence of failure or inadequacy. It is proof of growth and expansion. True spiritual growth always creates pressure against what you previously believed were your limitations and boundaries. But in partnership with me, there are no genuine limitations, no true ceilings, no permanent restrictions. I have not merely given you a future to anticipate, I have granted you divine favor to walk confidently into that future. Therefore, let us begin again, not from the place where you stumbled or fell, but from the place where I am lifting you up. This journey is not about being seen or acknowledged by others. This is about being faithful to the calling I have placed within you. The words I whispered to your spirit years ago have not changed or diminished. They have simply been waiting patiently for you to believe them again. There is a specific reason why that calling has never completely departed from you. Because I never departed from you. Now, the spiritual ground beneath your feet is shifting, and you feel it not as fear, but as holy urgency. This is the divine sense that you cannot continue living under the weight of almost. The growing awareness that comfort is beginning to feel like captivity rather than blessing. This is not frustration or restlessness. This is your soul awakening from its slumber. This is the divine pulse that beats beneath the surface of your everyday existence. I place this holy urgency within you to guide you back to this precise moment of decision and action. Take the step forward, not the dramatic, attention-seeking step, but the real, authentic one. Step into the whisper that has never stopped calling you toward the horizon of your destiny. This is not fantasy or wishful thinking, but a future that has been patiently waiting for your complete surrender and wholehearted yes. Your potential, when partnered with my presence, is not merely alive, it is absolutely limitless and boundless. You have worn strength like a disguise for so long, haven't you? Polished, competent, outwardly composed and controlled. But I have observed the quiet unraveling that has been happening underneath the surface. I have witnessed the moments when you convinced yourself that managing everything successfully meant you were walking in divine purpose and calling. The truth is, you have confused mere survival with genuine calling, endurance with true identity. You have learned to keep moving forward not because you feel inspired or energized, but because stopping felt equivalent to failure. But I never asked you to become a monument to pressure and stress. I invited you to become a vessel for my presence and power. And there is a silent narrative that has been governing your internal world, a persistent voice that declares, you must earn rest through performance. You must prove your worth through achievement. You must not allow yourself to fall behind others. That condemning voice did not originate from me. It was born from broken systems and painful moments when you were not protected and nurtured as you should have been. Somewhere along your journey, you came to believe that the more invisible your personal needs became, the more valuable and worthy you would become in the eyes of others. But I am dismantling that destructive lie now. Not to expose your weakness or vulnerability, but to reveal where you have been building your life upon the wrong foundation entirely. You were never intended to carry your calling in isolation. I did not place vision within you so it would become a source of torment and anxiety. I planted it there so it would mature and flourish through intimate relationship with me. You have been attempting to fulfill what only I can sustain and support. This is why the dream feels so heavy and burdensome. This is why your gifts feel distant and disconnected. You believed the solution was to try harder, to push more forcefully, to strain more intensely. But beloved, this is not a discipline problem or a lack of effort. This is a disconnection problem, a separation from the source of your strength and sustenance. Let me speak this truth with absolute clarity. You do not need to become more impressive or remarkable. You need to become more honest with me and with yourself. You have constructed a rhythm around appearing strong and capable, and it has become a form of armor, functional but ultimately fragile and unsustainable. You have avoided slowness and stillness because in those quiet spaces you would be forced to confront the gap between who you perform as and who you really are beneath the performance. But I am not afraid of that gap or that vulnerability. I am the only one who can bridge it completely and perfectly. I am not asking for more performance from you. I am asking for more of the real you, the raw parts, the exhausted parts, the parts that secretly wonder if you have missed your moment of opportunity. You have not missed anything. Nothing I plant within your spirit is constrained by human-made clocks or calendars. I am not operating in a hurry, but I am also not passive or inactive. Right now, I am confronting the destructive illusion that your pace and performance determine your purpose and value. They do not, and never have. I have observed what you carry within you, and it is genuine and valuable. But I will not permit you to move forward while building upon the lie that everything depends upon your individual strength and effort. Do you remember the moments when you felt closest to me? They were not when everything was perfect or when you were being applauded by others. They were often when you were stripped down to your essence, with nothing to prove and nothing to hold up, just your bare soul in the presence of my unwavering nearness and love. This is where your true potential is born, not in ambition or striving, but in availability and surrender. not in proving yourself, but in being present with me. You have been waiting to be chosen and validated by people who were never given the authority to determine your value or worth. You believed their recognition would validate the vision, but I never outsourced your confirmation to human sources. I did not whisper your destiny into your spirit so it could be filtered through the approval and opinions of others. The whisper came in secret because it was never meant to be tampered with or diminished by human limitation. I did not call you to be convenient or comfortable for others. I called you to be consecrated and set apart for my purposes. Yes, consecration can initially feel like isolation, but do not mistake being set apart for being set aside or forgotten. I am removing your compulsive need to constantly explain yourself or convince others that you are worthy of stepping forward into your calling. You do not need to audition for what I have already assigned to you. My favor is not fragile or dependent upon circumstances. It is not tied to who likes you, who agrees with your methods, or who understands your timing. What I set in motion, no human being can cancel or derail. Moving from balance to alignment. I am also confronting the myth of balance that has exhausted you. You have attempted to juggle your passion and your peace, your calling and your comfort, your fire and your fear. But beloved, I did not call you to achieve balance. I called you to walk in alignment. Balance exhausts and drains you because it requires constant adjustment and compensation. Alignment fills and energizes you because it flows from your true design and purpose. When your spirit is aligned with my rhythm and timing, you will not have to choose between vision and rest, between discipline and delight. You will flow naturally and gracefully. You will cease second-guessing whether it is too late, too much, or too soon. The striving will be replaced by a supernatural flow that comes from moving in harmony with my spirit. Declarations of truth over your life. Therefore, hear me now, not merely with your physical ears, but with the ears of your spirit. You are not late or behind schedule. You are not disqualified from your calling. You are not too much or too intense. You are not alone in this journey. You are not broken beyond repair or usefulness. You are not unprepared for what lies ahead. You are not missing anything essential for success. You are, in fact, exactly where I knew you would be when I first planted this potential within your spirit. Allow that truth to completely rearrange your internal world and perspective. Let it dissolve the shame that has accumulated. Let it interrupt the frantic hustle and striving. Let it draw you back to the center, not of your own strength, but of my presence and power. I am not rushing you forward prematurely. I am restoring your foundation, because what I am about to build through you will not emerge from striving or human effort. It will flow from surrender and trust. That surrender begins here and now, not with a dramatic gesture, but with a deep breath, with a whispered yes, with a heart that dares to believe that perhaps I have not given up on this dream. Perhaps I am just getting started, healing the weariness of the soul. There exists a type of weariness that does not originate in the physical body. It begins in the depths of the soul. It cannot be resolved through sleep or rest alone, and it is not related to the quantity of work you have accomplished. It is about what you have carried emotionally and spiritually. And even more significantly, it is about how long you have carried these burdens in complete silence. You have moved through life bearing invisible weights and wounds. Because they did not bleed visibly on the outside, no one recognized them as genuine injuries requiring attention and healing. But I witnessed every single one. Every unspoken disappointment, every delayed hope, every yes that cost you peace, every opportunity you turned away from, not because you were not called to it, but because you did not believe you were sufficient or worthy. This exhaustion you experienced did not result from laziness or lack of effort. It came from pretending to be okay when you were not, pretending that delays did not cause pain, pretending that you did not desire more than what you currently possessed. You have kept your hands full of responsibilities while your heart quietly emptied of joy and passion. The weight of false expectations. I never called you to carry expectations and burdens that I did not place upon you. What I did not assign, I will not sustain or support. This is why the load has felt so heavy and overwhelming. You have been attempting to uphold an identity that I never gave you in the first place. Much of your internal strain originates from building portions of your life around the fear of disappointing others, rather than the desire to obey me. This does not make you selfish, it makes you human and honest. You were shaped and formed in environments that rewarded performance and punished authentic emotion. Somewhere in your journey, you internalized the belief that you must earn space, earn favor, earn identity through achievement. But identity is not earned through performance, it is received as a gift. I have been waiting patiently for you to stop performing long enough to receive it again. The prison of self-protection. You have mistaken self-protection for wisdom. Every time you withdrew instead of speaking up, every time you dismissed your desires because they felt inconvenient to others, every time you remained silent because being misunderstood felt safer than facing rejection, you were building walls not just around your heart, but around your calling. The fire I placed within you now flickers behind stone barriers of your own construction. But fire was never designed to be caged, and you were never meant to survive behind emotional armor that prevents both pain and purpose from reaching you. There is also a deeper level, a spiritual fatigue that comes from being misaligned with your own spirit and calling. You have been giving, building, helping, and pushing, but often outside of the grace zone I assigned specifically for you. You understand what I mean. The situations you entered out of obligation rather than obedience. The roles you accepted out of guilt rather than genuine guidance. The people you carried out of fear they would abandon you if you stopped supporting them. This constant compromise tears at your inner clarity and peace. It does not merely make you tired, it makes you question your very identity and purpose. Pain as diagnostic tool. This is not about condemnation or judgment. It is about achieving clarity and freedom. I want you to understand that the pain has not been wasted or meaningless. It has been diagnostic, revealing the fractures, the false allegiances, the emotional contracts you signed without full awareness of their cost. I am not merely revealing these issues to make you feel exposed or vulnerable. I am bringing them to light to set you completely free from their influence and control. Some of what you have labeled as humility has actually been internalized shame. You have dimmed your light not out of reverence but out of fear of judgment and criticism. You have declined opportunities not out of genuine discernment, but out of anxiety disguised as wisdom. You have remained in patterns that appeared spiritual on the surface, but were actually rooted in the belief that you are not truly worthy of expansion and growth. The grief beneath the surface. Underneath all of these layers lies grief. Unprocessed, unresolved, unnamed grief. You are grieving the years lost to fear and hesitation. You are grieving the moments when you desperately needed support but received only silence. You are grieving the version of yourself that used to dream without hesitation or reservation. I have been present for every wave of that grief, even when you did not cry openly, even when you did not voice it aloud. I was the one who caught every sigh, who understood what even you could not name or articulate. But I need you to recognize this pain for what it truly represents. Not punishment or disqualification, but a signal. A signal that you are not meant to continue living under a survival blueprint. A signal that something sacred within you is refusing to be ignored any longer. A signal that you are ready for transformation, not because you feel strong, but because you are tired of living the lie. Transformation of grief into ground. Here is what I am accomplishing through this process. I am transforming your grief into fertile ground for growth. The tears you have shed in silence have been watering the very soil from which your future will emerge. The potential you thought was buried is not lost. It has been planted like a seed, waiting for the proper season. Like all sacred things, it has been growing in darkness, waiting for this moment of divine unveiling and manifestation. I am not merely healing your fatigue and weariness. I am identifying and addressing its root cause. You do not need a new plan or strategy. You need a new posture of heart and spirit. Instead of frantic striving, you need surrendered alignment. When you begin moving from that place of alignment, your energy will naturally return, your focus will sharpen, and your peace will deepen, because your soul was never designed to live in contradiction with its true purpose. The subtle beginning of breakthrough. Breakthrough begins subtly, like light gently softening a dark room before becoming fully visible. Perhaps it was a moment of quiet that felt like invitation rather than emptiness, or a deep breath that did not end in anxiety or worry. You may not have recognized it as breakthrough, but it was. Because when I begin to move in a life, it rarely announces itself with spectacular displays. True breakthrough comes in the form of clarity, peace settling in places where fear used to dominate, decisions that no longer require external approval, sentences spoken without apology or justification. These are not small shifts or minor adjustments. These are significant signs of internal transformation, and I want you to recognize and celebrate them. The heaviness has not completely disappeared, but something fundamental underneath it has shifted. That is my hand at work. I have begun to recalibrate your spirit, not merely to relieve external pressure, but to reawaken your authentic presence and power. You have carried so much for so long that you forgot what it feels like to move from a place of rest rather than stress. But now you are beginning to remember, and I am teaching you how to distinguish between genuine peace and the numbness that sometimes masquerades as calm, recognizing divine movement in the quiet. You have been conditioned to look for dramatic signs, open doors, radical changes, sudden elevation or recognition, but I want you to recognize the sacred movement happening in the quiet moments, the moment you choose honesty over hiding, the way your body naturally exhales after years of bracing for impact. The fact that you are receiving these words and something within you is not just resonating but actively responding. These are signals not of what might happen in the future, but of what is already unfolding in the present moment. A new type of favor is resting upon your life. Not the kind that demands recognition or applause, but the kind that aligns with the unseen hand of heaven. You will not need to force open every door this time. Some doors are being opened without effort on your part, not because of manipulation or political maneuvering, but because of maturity and alignment. You finally understand that success is not about being everywhere or being involved in everything. It is about being precisely where I have called you to be. In that place of divine assignment, everything changes and transforms. The restoration of discernment. I am also restoring your discernment, not the type rooted in suspicion or paranoia, but the kind that flows from inner peace and spiritual sensitivity. You will begin to sense it when you enter different environments and situations. You will know what belongs to you and what does not, which conversations deserve your voice and energy, and which ones drain your spirit unnecessarily. You will no longer feel compelled to overextend yourself just to prove the goodness of your heart. You will understand what to walk away from, not with bitterness or resentment, but with clarity and peace. These are not promises you should file away in your mind as someday possibilities. They are actively happening now, in how you think, in what you notice, in what no longer has the power to trigger or control you. The old triggers have lost their potency. Divine layers of transformation. I work in layers, and transformation is not a single moment, but a rhythm, a progression, a divine unfolding. You are currently in the midst of this process, even if you still feel tension, even if the evidence seems incomplete. Trust the signs you can observe. Trust the softness returning to your language and communication. Trust the way stillness no longer feels foreign or uncomfortable. The spiritual winds have shifted, not because your external circumstances have changed, but because you have changed internally. You said yes to seeing differently, to thinking differently, to believing differently. You stopped begging for the past to return and started preparing for the new to emerge. That shift, subtle, spiritual, and steady, has begun to attract what belongs to your future. Conversations will feel different and more meaningful. Opportunities will open, not to test your endurance, but to honor your faithfulness. The favor I have placed upon your life is not temporary or conditional. It is woven into your very identity and calling. Divine influence versus human impression. Not everything will feel dramatic or spectacular, but everything will be divinely orchestrated. I am not leading you into chaos disguised as opportunity. I am leading you into clarity, into specific assignment, into grace that does not drain your energy, but actually defines and energizes your purpose. You will begin to experience the ease of obedience, the natural flow that comes from being where you are meant to be, the stillness that emerges when you stop running from who you have always been designed to be. Your name is being remembered, not by people who previously overlooked you, but by heaven itself, by divine purpose, by perfect timing. This is not about gaining visibility for the sake of recognition. This is about being positioned for the sake of genuine impact and influence. I do not raise people to impress others. I raise them to influence and transform. Your influence will not emerge from striving or self-promotion. It will flow naturally from alignment with my purposes. The evidence of divine marking. Here is how you will recognize that it is truly me working. Things that once required your constant explanation and justification will now carry their own inherent clarity. You will not need to force conversations or manufacture opportunities. You will not need to convince people of your value or persuade them to listen. You will not need to hustle for a hearing or platform. What I have marked with my favor, I will maintain and sustain. What I have initiated, I will complete according to my perfect timing and methods. The process has already begun in your life. This is indeed a turning point, not because you demanded it or manipulated circumstances, but because you were finally ready to release what was blocking the flow of my purposes. You will walk with greater lightness now, not because the road ahead has become easier, but because you have become different. With every step forward, I will whisper what has always been true. Your potential is limitless, and now the promise is becoming visible and tangible. Living from the divine voice. Now that you have begun to hear my voice with clarity again, the crucial question becomes, how do you live from that voice consistently? Not just once a week during worship, not only in moments of crisis or inspiration, but daily and consistently in the quiet rhythms of your life, where most genuine transformation takes root and flourishes. I want to move this from theoretical concept to practical embodiment. I want the truth to become your natural rhythm and lifestyle, beginning with your physical temple. Start with your physical body, because that is where many of your old patterns and stories still echo and resonate. You have trained yourself to continue pushing forward, even when every part of your being is signaling the need to stop and rest. You have learned to wear exhaustion as if it were a badge of spiritual discipline and commitment. But I need you to unlearn that destructive pattern now. Chronic fatigue is not your calling or your destiny. You are not designed to treat your physical health as an afterthought or convenience. Your body is my temple, and I dwell within you not as a temporary guest, but as a permanent resident. Begin listening to your body as a messenger rather than treating it like a machine. If your chest tightens when you say yes to certain requests, that tightness is not peace. If your stomach sinks when you enter particular environments, pay attention to that signal. Your body is attempting to partner with your spirit to protect your clarity and well-being. You do not need to wait for complete collapse to realize you have exceeded healthy boundaries. I am giving you permission to pause, to cancel commitments, to reschedule obligations, not out of weakness, but out of wisdom. This is holy stewardship of the life I have entrusted to you. The sacredness of morning rhythms. Your morning hours are sacred and set apart. No more awakening and immediately diving into reaction mode or crisis management. Give me your first conscious awareness, even if it is only 2 minutes. Do not scroll through your phone before you breathe with me. Do not rush into the demands of the day before you anchor your soul in my presence. Begin each day not with anxious questions about what needs to be accomplished, but with simple surrender. Say, "Lead me today, not by fear or external pressure, but by your peace." That simple offering shifts the entire rhythm and cadence of the hours that follow. I will meet you in that moment of surrender, not with additional weight or burden, but with gentle whisper and direction. Reestablishing rhythm of stillness. I am calling you to reestablish a rhythm of stillness, not mere silence, but active listening. You have filled so much of your time with external content, voices, music, and messages, that you have forgotten how to hear my voice without interference or distraction. Set aside time each day for nothing but presence, not prayer requests or spiritual declarations, just space for us to be together. I will meet you there consistently. My voice will become familiar again, not rare or distant, but constant and near. When you read scripture now, do not hunt for immediate relevance or application. Read slowly, as if you are reading a personal love letter, because that is exactly what it is. Do not seek quick answers or instant solutions. Look for me within the words. Allow a single sentence to settle deeply and echo within your spirit. Let it transform you if necessary. I do not need your analytical skills or theological commentary. I desire your undivided attention and open heart. Transforming your relationship with time. Your relationship with time is also shifting and transforming. The way you manage your hours will reflect your belief in what I have spoken over your life. Begin guarding your time like a precious garden, not a battlefield to be conquered. Every time you say yes to activities that drain your energy, you are simultaneously saying no to what could heal and restore you. Begin to schedule peace, rest, and joy as intentionally as you schedule work and obligations. If you only make time for what feels urgent, you will never create space for what is truly holy and significant. The rest is not a reward you must earn through performance. It is a divine command. It is not selfish or self-indulgent. It is sacred and necessary. Creating sacred boundaries. Protect your morning hours and your evening hours. Create transition periods that allow your soul to catch up with your body. Take a moment to breathe deeply before your day begins. Take a moment to express gratitude before it ends. These are not luxury practices. These are spiritual disciplines that reshape how you carry everything else in your life. Your relationships are also being refined and purified. Begin paying attention to how you feel after certain interactions and conversations. Not everyone has the capacity to walk alongside the version of you that is emerging. This is not rejection, it is divine recalibration. I am not asking you to isolate yourself, but I am calling you to be intentional about your relationships. Conversations that consistently leave you anxious or drained are not covenant relationships. Surround yourself with people who encourage the flame within you, not those who benefit from your burnout or exhaustion. The power of small changes. Remember this truth: small changes are not insignificant in the spiritual realm. One boundary established, one pause taken, one honest prayer offered, these become altars of worship and transformation. Do not underestimate the power of choosing differently, even once. Heaven celebrates your smallest movements toward wholeness and health. Every time you choose integrity over image, peace over performance, silence over panic, I am present and active. I am moving. I am building, I am constructing the life you were designed to carry and enjoy. You are not merely receiving new insights or information. You are becoming a new instrument, one that knows how to carry power without pressure, one that knows how to speak with clarity rather than noise, one that reflects my presence not just in public settings, but in private moments. That is where the genuine glory is found, in the unseen obedience, in the unnoticed surrender. Your present posture of potential. Your potential is not merely a future outcome or destination. It is a present posture, the way you move through today, the way you make choices in this hour, the way you allow grace to guide even the smallest decisions and interactions. You do not need to rush toward some distant goal. You do not need to prove anything to anyone. You simply need to remain close to me, to stay connected to the source of your strength and wisdom. Let that be your rhythm now, and observe what begins to grow and flourish in your life. The removal of masks and pretense. There comes a moment when the masks begin to slip, not from exhaustion or failure, but from the power of truth breaking through. Not because you are falling apart, but because your soul is finally refusing to maintain pretense and false identity. You have worn so many different roles, carried so many expectations, spoken with so many filtered versions of yourself, that you nearly forgot what your original voice even sounded like. But I have never forgotten. I have known the real you throughout this entire journey. I know the you who felt emotions too deeply and was told to develop thicker skin. I know the you who asked challenging questions and was told to remain quiet. I know the you who dreamed with vivid imagination and then learned to compress those visions into something more socially acceptable. That authentic you, the one existing underneath all the versions you have performed, is the one I am calling back to the surface now, not to embarrass or expose you, but to rebuild and restore you to your original design. The cost of false applause. You have been applauded for strength that was actually suppression of your true self. You have been admired for consistency that was actually self-neglect and self-abandonment. You have been labeled resilient when what you truly needed was rest and restoration. You have answered to identities like the dependable one, the problem solver, the rock, because it made others feel secure, but it cost you your natural softness and vulnerability. I never called you to become a monument to other people's comfort and convenience. You have carried labels that described your function, but never honored your soul. Labels like the mature one, the leader, the helper, the strong friend. These are useful descriptions, but they have become exhausting when they are the only way you are known and valued. The truth is, you have lived with the tension of being needed while secretly feeling invisible, of being praised while feeling misunderstood, of being present for everyone except yourself. Seeing beyond the performance. I am not looking at the version of you that serves others out of depletion and emptiness. I am speaking directly to the one you have hidden in order to survive. I see the part of you that still longs to be known, not just for what you give or produce, but for who you are when you are not performing or meeting expectations. I see the part that still wonders if it is safe to be soft, to be honest, to admit that you do not have all the answers. I declare to you now, it is safe. not because the world has changed, but because you have returned to me. I did not create you to be constantly functional and productive. I created you to be fully alive and authentic. The mask of always fine has protected you for a season, but it is not armor. It has become a prison. Freedom begins when you allow me to gently dismantle it. Your true identity beyond labels. You are not defined by the expectations others have placed upon you. You are not the role you played to maintain peace. You are not the silence you swallowed to avoid conflict. You are not the version of yourself you presented to stay needed and valued. You are not what drained and depleted you. You are not the systems that used and exploited you. You are not the titles that trapped you in boxes.